Good morning, real life traders. Give me a one real quick in the chat. Let's make sure that you can hear me. Good morning, Bill. Thank you. Martina, good morning. Martina's always here. Cindy K, good morning. Happy Friday. It's real life traders. Oh, hang on a second. I got to mute my YouTube chat. Let's make sure that you can hear me. Good morning, YouTube Bill. Is delayed and I got to. Good morning. Martina's always here. Cindy K, good morning. There we go. Muted. All right. Live streaming on YouTube, and it was giving me it's delayed, so it was playing back. So Friday morning. Good morning. Let me just say good morning to everybody here on YouTube. Let me just type that in real quick. All right, so here we go. Friday, September 29th. Let's take a look here. All right, so happy bullish morning. Yeah, Matthew, I'm thinking that that is going to be the direction today. At least that's the indication right now. Give me a one real quick. Make sure that you can see my right now you should be seeing my charts that I've got the S&P up there, the NASDAQ, all that good stuff. Cool, good. Win, good morning. All right, so let's take a look. Let's look at the broader market. Let's get a sense for what we are going to be looking for today and what we might be able to expect. I'm going to take a look at the S&P first. Let me zoom out a little bit here. So, all right, what's going on with S&P? Well, we came down to a critical level, right? So this red line right here that I've drawn, that's been a line that I've had there for quite some time. That was my previous resistance become support, and so we came right down to it. And that, again, that line has been on here for quite a while, right? Comes back, right? So that was the previous high back in here on this date, which was back in looks like a year ago or so. And so we came right back down to it. And the critical thing was that level needed to hold, right? So next, if this level didn't hold, then the next one was down here. Here is the daily 200 coming up, which would have also provided some support. But good news is that we held that area, right? Now price did go through it, which is okay, right? Price can penetrate a support resistance area, right? As long as it doesn't close below it and continue to move below it, then that level has held. So good news is we, nice little hammer here, came out of it, a couple bullish days. We're looking for like a bullish day again today. So I'm expecting to have a small gap on the SPY and the Qs. But in terms of just the overall, feel for today, I am going to be looking to go bullish. Also, let me just mention real quick. So this is one of our beginner Fridays, right? Where we focus on some beginner traders. We slow things down. We try to get some questions answered, try to help out anybody who's either new to real life trading, new to trading, what have you. So just real quick, give me anybody who is either new to trading or new to real life trading, just give me a one in the chat real quick. Paul. Okay, cool. Good deal. Hey, and Paul, real quick, on your chat there, you are listed as host. You have it set to host and panelists. If you would just click on that and change that to everyone, and then that way everybody in the chat can see your posts. So quick question then there for Paul. Is there a way to default to no, you know what? There's not. I mean, unfortunately, like, and it takes some getting used to, right? You would think that there would be a way to default it, right? Anyway, so Paul, new to trading, you gave me a one. Been here, okay, Matthew Mitchell, been here for 4 weeks. But everyone makes you feel like welcome. Yeah. Hey, Matthew, that's what we're here for, right? It's a community. We trade together. We support each other. Win, lose, doesn't matter, right? And we're all here to help. So again, if you are new to trading, or just new to real life trading, again, today is one of those days where we slow things down a little bit. We try to focus on getting questions answered that, or helping people with trading issues that they might have. So just keep that in mind. So feel free, post whatever you want in the chat there. I will, answer whatever questions you have and do whatever I can to help you out. Right. So, okay. So back to the S&P. So we are looking like another bullish day today, which is great. Right. So I would love to be able to see that, we came down here, we hit this level, and then that level held and we bounced. Now, does that mean that we're going to bounce out of here and, continue up? Only time will tell. Right. Because if you look here, right, we are at this point right now making lower highs and lower lows, right? Although here we did make a new high above here, right? But this is a new, lower low compared to back here. This was a lower high compared to here. We did get up here. So we'll have to just wait, right? We'll have to wait and see whether, I'm hoping that, in terms of the markets in general, that this will be a bounce area and that we will just resume the bullish trend that we, got into after we broke through that, the downtrending bear market trend line. Let's take a look at, take a look at the NASDAQ real quick as well. So similar look on the NASDAQ. Right. So again, here's this line that I have, drawn that's been sitting there for quite some time. And if I were to zoom out a little bit here, you'll see that this line here, right, if I extend that, right, you can see where this line, where I got this from, right? So there was an area way back in here where that was support, and then all through here that served as support and resistance. So anyway, we're sitting back on that line, and again, which is good, and we've held it. So we have double bottom here, hammer candle. One thing that you'll notice, okay, now, and it may not be extremely obvious, but if you look down here at the MACD, right? When we came down here and we made this low here before we bounced, if you look at just the histograms here, right, it's a little more pronounced here than it is here, right? A little bit, right? Not crazy different, but it's different, right? And so if you're using the MACD at all, and again, I only use this on certain charts, and I'm just using it to just try to get a gauge for momentum, right? So what this tells me here is if I were to even put a trend line on here, just down this histogram, right, and I do that, you can see that it's uptrending, right? So even though we came back down, you can look here and you can look at this, and that's a divergence, okay? So all that means is that, yeah, we came back down here and we double bottomed here, right? We made a similar low as we did back in here, but we have a bullish divergence right here because this line that I just drew there is actually uptrending, right? So price came down, but the MACD has a bullish divergence. So that's one thing that you always want to look for is in addition to just the charts up here, is if you're using the MACD or some other type of indicator like that, is look for the divergence, right? So yeah, we came back down here and we hit this double bottom, but we do have a bullish divergence, so that's a good sign. Right. So we've got the S&P and the NASDAQ covered again for today, right? So here's the price action forming today on the futures. If I zoom in a little bit, right? So we're looking bullish. So if we get a gap up, on the SPY and the Qs, okay? I know all of you, you veteran RLT traders know this, but for the newer people, I'll just throw the question out there. So if we do get some type of a gap up here on the SPY and the Qs, what type of gap are we looking at? How do we classify it? Yeah, exactly, Matthew. Retest gap. Yep. And that's important to know because, you know, we have two different types of gaps that we look to trade. And I do have, I did pull up from my scanner. We're going to take a look at that in a minute here. I did pull up some tickers that are gapping today, and we're going to look at all those. But it's important to understand the type of gaps, right? So whether it's a retest gap or a gap and go, right? So a gap and go, you expect it to move and move strongly and move quickly. With the retest gap, you expect for price to move up, come back down, retest the level, go back up, come back down, right? And typically with a retest gap, you're going to get two major retests, and then, you know, look for it to continue on in the trending direction. But yeah, so we are looking at retest gaps, right? If we do get those gap ups on the SPY and the Qs, which it looks like we will. And we have another like almost 19 minutes before the market opens, but we'll wait and see. All right. Now, the other thing that we have to be aware of today. So we've looked at the broader markets. We have an idea of what the trend will be today. If, you know, price holds between now and the open of the market. So if the trend today is bullish, I'm going to be looking to trade with the market. You know, that's not to say that if you're more experienced, you can trade against the market. Of course you can, right? But especially for newer traders, it's just the path of least resistance to go ahead and trade with the market. Gisela, how are you? Happy Friday. So anyway, you know, if you think about just the, you know, of course you can trade against the trend, right? And people do it all the time. I do it all the time, but it's easier if you just think about if you're trading with the market, right? It makes more sense, right? Especially if you're newer to trading. Okay. So we'll be looking to trade with the market. Let's see, a couple things that we want to take a look at today. I always look at in the morning is, so this is a website called Econo Day, right? And I want to know, are there going to be any announcements, any Fed related things that are going to come up today, because they can move the market, right? So various different, if they're talking about interest rates or what have you, it can move the markets. The markets can get very volatile. So I want to be aware of what is happening and when. And the only one really that jumps out and catches my eye that I think could, you know, potentially create a little bit of volatility is the consumer sentiment here, right? 10 a.m. So we want to just be aware of that. And so then you can make a plan. And the plan is, okay, do I want to get into a trade before 10 o'clock? And then do I want to be out by 10 o'clock when that announcement comes out? Or do I want to just simply wait until after the, you know, not even get into a trade and just wait until after the announcement is released and then just see if there's any volatility, then look to get into a position, right? So it all comes down to your individual trading plan. And if you've ever been caught in that volatility, it's not fun, right? Because you can get, and again, the consumer sentiment may not move, you know, the market like, you know, some type of a Fed announcement that takes place on a Wednesday, or, you know, if someone's speaking and it's moving the market, but, you know, getting caught in that kind of volatility can be rough, right? Because you can have your stop in place and it can just, you know, price can just go right at your stop, trigger you out, and then go exactly back in the direction that you were looking to trade. So just be aware of that. I always want to be aware of what types of announcements are happening on any given day. So econoday.com, that's what I use. There are others out there, but definitely be sure that you check that. So let's take a look at some individual tickers. All right. You should be seeing my chart of Tesla now. So on Tesla, right, we are looking at a gap up, right? And again, it's a green candle yesterday, gapping up, right? So retest gap, right? So, and it's, you know, it's a decent gap. And the question is though, right? So when you look at gaps, the question is like, who's trapped, right? Are there, and the point of the gap and why we trade gaps is that they create fear and greed. And that's what drives the market, right? So when you're analyzing a gap, when you're looking at a gap, you get a question, you got to ask yourself, well, who's trapped, right? And if the gap is clearing a pivot, it's an even stronger gap than if it's not, okay? So, yesterday, right, we have a bullish candle here and we're gapping up. So there's going to be people who are immediately profitable, right? And so a lot of people, what they do is when they're immediately profitable, they will just take the profits, right? Well, in order to take the profit, they're going to have to sell, right? And that selling is what creates that retest, okay? And so that's why you have to be aware of the type of gap it is. And then also with Tesla, right? So let's just look at a couple of different things here. Be aware of so here are some moving averages that we're gapping, around, right? Into and around. So the first thing I want to point out is that, and this is a good, this makes it a better gap. And I like the fact that pre-market it held, but this line right here, this kind of choppy blue line, light blue line, I know is the weekly 100. And I know that because on my daily charts here, I'm able to plot my daily moving averages, but also see my weekly ones at the same time, which is nice. And then if I go to the weekly chart, I'm able to see the weekly moving averages and the monthly. It's just nice to be able to see the higher time frames, on one chart. So what I do like about Tesla, if we zoom in here a little bit, is that we are gapping up. We got above the weekly 100, came down, we retested a pre-market, and we've moved away from it, right? So that's good, right? I like that gap. We moved gapped above that. What we do have to be aware of, though, okay, is these other moving averages. Now, does that mean you don't trade because they're there? No, it just means that you just want to be aware that they are there, and depending on, they may be areas where you might want to, target for profit or take profit. But we do have up in here, we have this red line here, which is the 10 EMA on the daily. We have the blue line right here, which is the 50 on the daily. And then we also have the 20 right here, this black line, right? And I have already gone and I've just dropped those lines so that I can see them over here on my this is a 3-minute chart showing the pre-market price action. So if we zoom in a little bit here on Tesla, just getting an idea what I like that has happened. Okay, so this orange line that I have right here is, and I can see it over here on my daily chart too. That was what I identified as kind of that pre-market level. You can see it right here where Tesla was, just bumping its head against, right? Boom, kept going up against it and was getting rejected. And then it finally broke above, right? And now we're back down and we're testing it, right? And this is a great example of my style of trading, where I don't necessarily, I shouldn't say I don't ever, but because I do, but I prefer not to take breakouts and breakdowns just because the majority of them fail. So what I like to look for is I want to see a breakout occur, right? Which happened here. And then I can always set up a limit buy right off that level and wait for it to come back down and retest that level. And this is a pretty good example of how that happened, right? Pre-market, we broke through that level, came back down, we retested it here, we're retesting it now. So the key thing is we want to see this level hold now, okay? And then you also want to be aware of what this new high is here pre-market. So with Tesla, and of course with Tesla, why is Tesla looking so strong? Well, it's, they're benefiting from the auto strike, right? So from the big auto manufacturers who are striking, and Tesla is benefiting from that because they are not. So Tesla's Lucian is saying that Lucian has a script for trading view that allows me to see moving averages intraday. If you would like to see the script, so okay, so cool. So Lucian is offering up a script to be able to see the moving averages intraday, similar to what I have here, right? But he's got a script for if you're using Trading View. So just shoot Lucian a message. You can do it in Slack, or you can, however you want to do it. And he says, Lucian saying, send me a message in Slack, and I'll get it to you. So cool. Thanks, Lucian. All right. So Tesla is definitely on my radar for today. Couple others that let me just pull over real quick. So here's my pre-market scanner. Okay. And this is what I'm scanning, what I'm using to scan for gaps. And if I'm looking at this, right, there's a lot of tickers here. And when I first started trading, I would literally try to look at every single one pre-market. And the reality is it's just not feasible, right? There's just too much. So what I do now is when I pull up my scanner, I just look for the tickers I know, right? So Nike, Foot Locker, Carvana, just to name a few, right? So I'm just going to look through here. I'm going to look for tickers that I'm familiar with, that I know. Datadog, Palantir, right? That wasn't on there before. We should take a look at that, PLTR. And I'm looking just for tickers because otherwise you can end up with so many, right? And then you would just want to go in, say AMD is gapping a little bit. Then you want to just go into the individual tickers, and you want to then analyze the gaps. Okay. So let's just look at a couple. First, we already looked at Tesla. Let's look at our usual suspects, right? So Tesla, we are looking at a gap up and it's a retest gap. Let's take a look at Nvidia. All right. So Nvidia, we're also looking at a retest gap, right? So here's yesterday's price action. We're up 438.88. So we're just gapping slightly above the 20 here. So Paul, if I want to play the retest gap, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it gap, and I'm going to let it come back, right? So when I say come back, in this case for today, a bullish retest gap, right? I'm going to let it gap up, and then I'm going to look for it to pull back. Then I'm going to look for an entry. Okay. And when it pulls back to Paul, hopefully we'll get a couple examples today. So, Paul, I don't know if you've been able to sit in any of the, analyzing price action and volume sessions I've been doing, but this, hopefully it will be a good day to look for that kind of a pullback where it will gap up, it will sell off, we'll get a move, it will pull back, then we'll get some type of a hammer at the bottom of the move with volume, right? With a volume spike. And that's where I'll look to get in, right? So retest gap, I will just simply be patient and let price come to me and then show me some type of a bottom, and then I'll look to get in, right? So Nvidia, we have a retest gap. So that's on the list. Let's take a quick look at AMD. Well, look real quick. We'll do Amazon first. So Amazon, also, right? Retest gap. So we got a lot of stuff gapping. I haven't updated all my lines here. So, but let's see, 128.48, 128. So we're gapping right in here. So we do have to be aware that we do have, this is the weekly 100 that's right overhead of the price action. So we just want to be aware of that. But, we'll take a look at all these once the market opens. We'll come back and look at them, and we'll see where price opens. So Amazon, we have another. So again, like today, we're going to have a lot of retest gaps, right? So you just have to look and see, which are the ones that you want to look to trade. AMD, again, slight gap up. Yesterday we had a big day on AMD, right? Big day here. So let's see where prices right now? 104.97. So I got a little bit of a gap up here. We have some room to go on the daily chart until we get to the 50 here. Look for 50 on yesterday's huge range for AMD. Yeah. So Adam. So for me, right? What's interesting is I do typically look for on a big day like that. Okay, if I zoom in a little bit, I look for maybe a 30 to 50% retracement. Okay. Ideally, what I want to see when if this had closed, more like a shaved top, right, or just a little bit of a upper wick here, that would have been my preferred close, right? Typically, like when I see that type of a strong close, less of an upper wick, that's when I look for that 30 to 50% retracement. But yeah, we'll be keeping an eye out for that. Here's an example right here. Yeah, there was a little bit of an upper wick, but you can see how price opened here, right? Although it didn't gap up above it, but see where price came right back down into yesterday's price action. So yeah, Adam, we're on the same page with that. That's something I look for as well. So AMD, so we've got definitely a pretty good list here of a pretty good number of tickers that we can look. So those are, again, all the ones that we generally look at. Let's look at some of the ones that came up on my list real quick. We have 4 more minutes until the market opens. So Nike, I'm just going to fly through these real quick. So Nike, we've got a earnings gap, right? So that's the other thing you want to be aware of, right? What is the catalyst? What's making this gap, right? Is it just the market in general, or is it something in addition to that? And in this case, Nike's got a nice earnings gap, right? So strong gap. Now, the only thing is, with Nike is it might be up like over 10% right now. So when I do see gaps like that, I'm more conservative with those, right? Just because it's already gapped a lot. Now, look, I've seen these things gap 10, 15%, and they continue to run. So that's not to say that you don't trade. You just I expect when I see something gapping like that, more often than not, it's made its move, right? So I will, again, be patient with something like that and look to see if I can get a decent retracement on Nike, and then give me some indication for a place to enter. Foot Locker, right? It's just a sympathy play to Nike, right? It's being brought up. Foot Locker is benefiting from Nike. Okay, so we've got a gap here, 1872. So we're not quite clearing. See, this is what I was saying about, when you're looking at gaps, if it's clearing a certain level, and right now we're like, it's underneath this level right here. If it had gapped above this level, it would be a stronger gap, but still, it's still has room to run, right? It's still a decent gap. Just draw a couple lines here. Yeah. So what I was just looking at real quick there is right here, right? This candle, when I talk about who's trapped, right? Right now, right? Anybody who got short here, their stop is still up in here, right? So when you think about the fear and the greed aspect of it, these people, yeah, price is right up into the upper part of these wicks right here, but their stops are up here. So they're not panicking, but they may actually go, hey, it's trade's not working out. I was looking to go short here, and they buy to close. Again, wait to see. But that's when you analyze the gap, right? If it gaps above this level, stronger gap than if it doesn't gap above that level. So keep an eye on Foot Locker. CCL, again, we have 1 more minute. I'm just going to go through some of these real quick. Wow, that was ugly. CCL was gapping up. All right, CCL is off the list. Wow, that was a big, earnings. That was it. So that's right. I remember when it was gapping, earnings came out pre-market, right? So, but again, this could just be a sell-off pre-market, and then boom. We'll keep an eye on it as well. So I'm not going to go into the news real quick, but clearly it was earnings, and let's see. Okay, so it was an earnings beat, and for whatever reason, the market didn't like it initially, but could easily come back. So CCL, again, these are all bullish retest gaps. All right, there's the market. We are open. Give me a second real quick. I'm going to sign off of YouTube. I want to thank everybody out there who joined us live on YouTube. Appreciate you being here with us. Again, we have a great community here at Real Life Trading. So if you feel free to come on over to reallifetrading.com, join our community, trade with us. It is, a great group of traders. We support each other. But have a great weekend. Thank you for being with us, and happy trading.